amendments to the agenda, Clerk?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
I have a motion to confirm the agenda for the special meeting of the December 13th Council. Moved by Councillor Batt, seconded by Councillor Fenelon. All in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Let's get right down to it, and we'll turn the... So we're going to have the treasurer will present the budget using PowerPoint, and you can refer to the document you have. I think as the presentation goes, if there are questions from the council table, just try and let the treasurer have some flow, but go ahead and ask the questions. And if there's questions from the public, we'll finish the presentation first, have council questions, then I'll come to the public. So with that, Madam Treasurer, the floor is yours.
Don't know if it's on. Okay. Welcome. I would like to first mention that unfortunately our HR manager was not able to attend tonight. Other than that, all the managers are here. Can everybody hear me okay? This year we're going to be doing our format a little bit differently than what we did last year. So this year, tonight, we're having our first special council meeting with the draft number 1 of the budget. On January 9th, we're going to have an open house. That's a public input, and requests will be received. So anybody that wants to make donation requests or anything to council can attend. They have to have their request into me by the Friday prior, which would be January the 4th. That meeting there will be held at the Legion. On January 30th, we'll have another special council meeting where I will be presenting again the draft number 2 of the budget to council. It will be determined where we're holding it. Right now, we're leaning towards the council chambers, but depending on what happens at our open public input meeting, we'll probably determine what size of a facility we'll need. On February the 20th, at the regular council meeting, we're hoping that we'll be able to have a ratification and passing of the 2019 budget. So tonight, what I'm going to be going through is I'm going to be going through the municipalities with grants, the 2018 taxation versus the actuals, the 2018 versus the 2019, so the 18 actuals against the 2019 budget, the tax variance, what makes up the tax variance, the 2019 operating budget, how is your tax dollars spent, donation requests that we have received, the 2019 capital budget, the 2019 capital funding summary, the debentures, the municipal debt limit, the reserve and reserve funds, the 2019 transfers to reserves, the 2017 ongoing project, which is the cafetorium, the 2019 operating tax levy, and the 2019 capital levy, just based on what I'll be presenting tonight. So to start off with, we're going to start with a video.
Ontario municipalities like Sioux Lookout receive only 9% of all taxes collected, but are responsible for over 50% of the infrastructure. Let's start by looking at what the word budget means. Simply put, it is a planned, itemized summary of money that's coming into the municipality and how that money is spent for a specific period of time. It's very important to note that provincial government legislation in Ontario states money coming in equals money going out, also known as revenue equals expenditures or a balanced budget. The municipality of Sioux Lookout provides a multitude of services to the citizens of Sioux Lookout, so municipal council and administration always have to make difficult decisions to ensure this balancing takes place. There are two main components of the budget when looking at the money going out side of the scale. Operating pays for all the day-to-day activities of the corporation. This includes items such as salaries and wages, utilities, supplies, fuel, and insurance, just to name a few. The capital budget pays for all the new big investments or rehabilitation of the current assets under the municipality's control. So let's focus on how the municipality collects to pay for all of these services. For every dollar that comes into the municipality, 57 cents comes from property taxes, 15 cents from grants and subsidies, and 28 cents from user fees and other sources. So, now we've learned what a budget is, how municipalities collect money, and how they spend it. Now let's take a look at how these pieces work together. Money comes in through property taxes, grants and subsidies, and user fees. The money collected is required for both the operating and capital budget. We've already talked about the operating budget, including day-to-day expenses, but it also includes money for funding capital budgets. The capital budget pays for all the new big investments or the rehabilitation of current assets under the municipality's control. This connection is made through three methods. The capital levy method reflects a pay-as-you-go approach. The reserve fund method, which reflects a plan, save now, acquire, or use later approach, and the debt payment approach. Okay, so let's recap. 1. A budget is a plan for money coming in, money going out. There are two building blocks to the municipal budget, operating and capital. 2. The operating budget is like paying your house bills to keep the lights on. Just like in a normal household, our bills go up with inflation. 3. The capital budget is like your major outlays, vehicles, house, renovations, etc. 4. Money comes in from three sources, property tax levy, user fees, and grants and subsidies. 5. Money coming in is used to deliver a multitude of services to municipal residents. 6. Municipal council and administration, with the input of the public, decide how to best balance the municipal budget guided by provincial legislation. And that is how your municipality develops its budget.
Now I'm going to get into the annual grants. These are grants that the municipality will be receiving in 2019. We'll be getting a $50,000 recycling grant from Stewardship Ontario, $319,865 for the federal gas tax, $224,664 for the Ontario Community Infrastructure Formula-based, $1,473,900 of the Ontario Municipal Partnership. To date, we haven't received confirmation on how much that will be. Last year it went up a bit, but I'm not sure what the government is going to do this year. We also are going to be receiving $6,314 for the Ontario Cannabis Legalization Implementation Fund. Special project grants. These are grants that we apply for special projects. One is the Employment Creation Grants for summer students, revitalization projects such as the Town Beach, the Municipal Energy Plan, Sport Tourism Strategy Plan, Biomass Heat, Innovation Station Knowledge Hub, and the Indigenous Knowledge Center. Those are just some of the projects that we kind of have on queue right now that we are looking towards applying for funding or have already applied for funding. Okay, now we're going to get into the 2018 taxation versus the actual. So in 2018, we budgeted $10,557,874 that we would be receiving through taxation. We billed actually the same amount, so there's a zero variance there. Then we budgeted for supplementary tax billings of $216,734. We actually only received $119,758, which left us a deficit there of $96,976. Our expenditures against the taxation were $90,000 was our estimated budget. we actually had $129,152 in expenditures. Those expenditures are write-offs, RFRs, 357 charity rebates, vacancy rebates. So that left us a deficit there of $39,152. So the bottom line that we ended up, we budgeted for was $10,684,608. We actually received $10,548,480, which we had a shortfall of $136,128. Just so everybody knows, also the public, this PowerPoint presentation will be on our website after if you would like to obtain it later. So in 2018 now, our actuals that we received versus what we're budgeting for 2019 for taxation. So for taxation, we actually received the $10,557,874. So our budget for 2019, based on the same tax rates right now, would be we would receive from taxation $10,948,297. That's an increase of $390,423. That's a 3.7% increase in just taxation. And supplementary, we had the actual of $127,308. We're budgeting this year $130,000, so that's a variance of $2,692. And what we did with the supplementary, we went over a 4 or 5 year stretch to see what we've been receiving, and we went down the middle with it. For our expenditures, which we did the same, it was $129,152 in 2018. So we're budgeting $120,900, another variance of $8,252. So in total, actual in 2018, the $10,556,030. Our budget was $10,957,397. So we have a variance of $401,367. So in our budget for 2019, just under taxation alone, we figured that we will probably have an excess of $401,367,000. So that total variance. So what is making up that and absorbing that variance right now in our projected budget for 2000, draft budget for 2019 is these expenditures. Under controllable costs of $68,163. Those uncontrollable costs are your KDSB, which is your ambulance, Ontario Works, social housing, childcare, Kenora Home for the Aged, Northwestern Health Unit. Our policing costs went up again, and also our Legion is now available, has a tax write-off. The community improvement plan, we put in the budget for $30,000 to work towards a community improvement plan. The library has asked for an increase of $12,000 into their budget. Wages of $216,204, and the wages make a combination of some new positions that were formed within the year of before the end of the budget in 2018, along with the increases of wages due to contracts. And the investment attraction, which we had put money aside for investment attraction to help out with economic development and investment attraction of $75,000. So now we're going to go through our categories of our operating budget. First category is the government services. Now, what is in this category is our CAO, HR, train station, and the OMPF. What makes up that lump of that category. These categories are selected because of the FIR under the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We have to categorize them this way. So we project our revenue to be $2,158,686. Our expenditures for these categories are $3,841,701, which would leave us $1,683,483 Protective services, which is your EMS and bylaw, $379,360 in revenue is what we project we'll get for revenue for those categories. And our expenditures are $2,730,174, which gives a variance of $2,350,814. Under protection is EMS and bylaw, which is fire department. Yeah. Then under transportation services, we have our airport and public works. Revenue $14,823,087. Our expenditures are $17,380,814. Gives us a variance of $2,557,727. Environmental services, which is utilities and waste management, $3,249,156. Our expenditures are $3,585,667, to a variance of $336,511. Health services, which makes up cemetery, Hugh Allen Clinic, and a health unit, is $133,827. Expenditures of $886,781. A variance of $752,854. Social and family services, your daycare, KDSB, home for the aged, $1,546,217. Expenditures $2,739,533. A variance of $1,193,316. Recreation and culture, which is your museum and recreation. Revenue of $506,629. Expenditures of $2,420,023. $1,913,394 is a shortfall. Planning and development, which makes up your economic development and planning department, $611,416 in revenue. Expenditures of $1,247,596. The balance is $636,180. Taxation. So in taxation, we'll get $12,680,930. This is taxes, tax adjustment, and any other fees which are associated with taxes. And expenditures of $1,447,632, which gives us $11,233,298. So our total revenue is $36,089,408. Our expenditures are $36,279,921, which leaves us a deficit right now of $190,513 in our operating. This is how your dollar is spent. On government services, 22% of your dollar goes to government services. Protection services, 16% goes to that. Transportation services, 15% of your dollar goes. Environmental services, 5%. Health services, 5%. Social and family services, 16%. Recreation and culture, 14%. Planning and development, 7%. Airport is removed from this pie along with utilities because those are user pay services, so it doesn't affect your tax dollar. To date, for donation requests, we've had one request from the Sioux Lookout Hub Transit of $70,000. This is not in your budget right now in the draft budget. the 70,000 has not been placed in the budget. Council will be having to make determination on what donation requests they're going to be accepting. Next, I'm going to get into the capital projects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the managers, as I get into their departments, to come and sit up beside me as I'm bring up their capital. So if you have questions of the capital as I show them, then you can ask the managers and they'll be here to answer the question. So first I'd ask Ben to please come up for the airport. So these are the two projects that the capital projects for the airport. Before I get into talking about the capital, I just want to let you know the spreadsheet that you have, at the top of the spreadsheet, it'll say ongoing capital projects for 2018. Those are projects that were already approved in the 2018 budget, but they haven't been completed, so they're ongoing projects that'll be carrying forward for 2019. I haven't included them in the slides because they've already been approved in 2018. So when you start below that, you'll see the airport is the first one there. That's the one, it'll have the 2019 new projects. And the numbers will continue on, and you'll see it says 1 and 2 up there. Those numbers will continue on as we're going through the slide presentation. So if later on you have questions in regard to any of these slides, you can refer to that number, and then it's easier for us to catch it. So for the airport, there's 2 projects that he has ongoing. Does anybody have a question? One's the oil water separator. The other one's the lighting pavement condition assessment. These will both be funded through AIF, so it's not going to be affecting the taxation.
I have one question on that. I asked a question on the budget.
On the operating budget? Yeah. Do you want to, should we do those questions now, or, and then, how do you want to do it, Treasurer?
We can do that before we get into the capital, if you like.
I don't know.
Sure.
Whatever.
I can ask him after. I mean, he's sitting
Yeah.
at the table, that's all.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm just curious, in fuel sales, or fuel purchases, we increased by $2,756,000. In fuel sales, we increased by 2008. Anyhow, bottom line is we got $132,000 extra on over about $3 million worth of extra fuel sales. Is that all we get on? What am I missing?
Well, with assigned sales and customers, we get an in-between service fee. So that can range anywhere from about 6 cents a liter in sales, right? But if it's retail sale, then we're only at 2.6 cents a liter.
Seems very low for.
Now you're looking at 19 to 18, or you're looking at actual to 18?
I'm looking at proposed. I'm on page 2 of 3. And I'm looking at anticipated increase in sales of for 2019 of basically $2.9 million. And I'm looking at fuel purchases of 2.8 million, or 2.7 and a half. It just doesn't seem like there's very much of a profit line there for $3 million worth of fuel.
Well, yeah, because the cost of purchasing for sale, selling.
Anyhow.
Well,
Yeah,
no, but I mean,
no.
we can look at that, but obviously to increase that margin, then you push yourself out of the market.
Whatever. I'm
Seems
just,
like a lot of work.
it does seem like a lot of $3 million in sales, and you make $132,000 off of it. Seems like a lot of work for a little bit of money. Whatever. That was my only question. Well, that's what I was looking for clarification. You're saying, well, it costs us more to do it, and it costs whatever.
Yeah, well, that's not pure, like, that's not 1 liter fuel purchased to 1 liter of fuel sold. You gotta look at the cost, what it takes to sell that liter of fuel. Right? Costs you nothing,
not a good business to get into then. So,
Kind of too that we're serving the north, and we're being a hub of the north in order for those planes to fly in and out. Otherwise, they might go somewhere else to land, right?
yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at the numbers and saying $3 million increase in sales and you're getting $132,000 extra profit out of it. It doesn't seem like it makes very much sense, but.
So your revenue, fuel consumption, right here, fuel sales,
Yeah, that's fuel sales,
sales, yeah.
right. But
And
hang
this
on,
This is purchases here. So he's saying if you take your sales minus your purchases, you're only about 100 and some thousand.
yeah, but you also have your concession fees and airport viewing.
Yeah, yeah,
And you're into plane servicing fees.
yeah.
So you're looking at straight sales, so when you look at those items, everything to do with the fuel sale right there, yeah? Or, not fuel sale, so.
That's fine.
No, but so your fuel sales, that, at the 2.8 million, right?
Yep.
Your fuel purchases, on top of that 2.8 million, on your margin, right? Is your fuel concession fee of 239,
Okay.
right? And your interplane servicing is 746,000. Those two numbers.
Okay.
We add to the 2880.
Okay, okay.
Less than 2756.
That's what I'm asking for clarification. I look at the bottom lines, it doesn't look like it's a good business.
Now, does it look exorbitantly profitable, or?
No, no, not really, but anyhow, okay, thank you.
Sorry, that took me a while.
No problem.
But I think they're bringing other revenue into the community when they're bringing people in. So we have to also remind ourselves that there's 100+ thousand people coming through that airport that are spending money in our community.
Councillor Timpson, question?
Yeah, you had a significantly, or you're anticipating significantly less user fees.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you?
You're anticipating significantly less in user fees on page 1 under administration revenue, user fees 194,000 as opposed to 409,000 last year. Under administration, page 1.
Right, so we're not getting as much money, well, we're getting better payment on accounts, right?
That's because the payment of the accounts are more accurate now, and they're paying up, and we're not so much in finance charges. There's less
That's- that-
receivables, which means there's less penalties.
Yeah, but that's shown as income. User
Yeah,
fees.
it would show as income when we charge somebody for penalties or interest charges on your accounts. It shows in our books as revenue even before we
Oh.
receive it.
Okay, so what about user fees then?
That's grouped together with it.
Are user fees up or down, or?
That's administration, those user fees, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
That's all through finance. If
Okay.
you wanna look at revenue, true airport revenue, it's anything under administration. When you get into agency fuel services or ground side or terminal services, that's where the revenue in the airport comes.
There was a few counts that have all been cleared up and paid up now, so the penalties have gone down, and there's very little charges of user fees. It's more of fees for penalties. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the capital?
Operations, I hope you're meaning? We haven't done the capital yet.
Yeah, this one's up.
This cap.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the airport cap.
What is oil water separator?
Oh, that's for the maintenance garage. It was, well, perhaps, it was missed in 2009 when the servicing came through. And the floor drainage and the wastewater drainage from the maintenance garage wasn't tied into the municipal system. So I have to get an oil water separator and we can tie into the municipal system. No, yeah, I mean, it's, you know what I mean, yeah, at this time, if that was developed in the '09, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
right, it's something that needs to be done.
Further questions, council, on airport capital? Okay,
Thank you. Rob Favat to come up, please. So under emergency services, these are the projects that they have put in for capital: a positive pressure fan, turnout gear, VHF repeater for the fire halls, a VHF repeater for public works, CCAN storage container. This would be all coming through tax levy, and the total amount would be $59,500, which would be a 0.54% of the tax levy impact, approximately.
so, Fire Chief, why don't you go ahead and just describe each one of those for us briefly?
Positive pressure fan, it's a battery-operated positive pressure fan. So when we have issues in apartment buildings or Patricia Plaza, we can bring the fan right to the building. Once you have gas, use the battery operated, so we can bring it in to always keep the smoke out fast, and it's quiet, and it gets the smoke out really fast. And also, a new way of firefighting is with positive pressure buildings. And right now we have the gas operated ones, they're loud and noisy, and they vibrate off the stairs or off the landings. And this here is quiet and doesn't move at all. Next one, turtle gear, it's just additional turtle gear. We have 2 new firefighters, and we have to go up to 3 new firefighters. We have to bring up to new standards of turtle gear for them. The VHS repeater for both Hudson and Sulacout. The repeaters we have in right now are analog repeaters. They're very old. They're having issues with them. We're having problems with them. The new VHF repeaters are digital, and because of changing into the digital communications with the FleetNet radios, and all our radios are going to be are all digital now. Our repeaters are not capable of having that communication aspect. Also, at the same time, Public Works repeaters in the same situation as we are, and in order for them to move forward, they also need a repeater. The repeaters are housed in the Sulucout repeaters are housed in our building up at the water tank, and the one in Hudson is in the Hudson Fire Hall. And once those repeaters are put in here, anybody can any group, whether it's rec center or facilities, can get a channel off them repeaters and operate off those repeaters at the same time. So it's a win-win situation for all the departments to come on and use those repeaters. And the CCAN storage container is, as we all know, the government has mandated the certification of all firefighters starting in July 2019. Since then, we rescinded, but what I'm hearing is it's going to be carried on in the same, different aspect. But in order for us to get our firefighters 2 certificates, we have to have a live fire burn. And what's happened within the communities all around in this area, they're all getting CCAN containers, and we fix up the house, and we have live fire burn, so the firefighters can get certification as live fire burn.
Questions, council?
Yeah, Robbie, is there a annual cost for the VHF repeaters? Like, is there a service charge every year with that, or no? So,
It's our own, so only is maybe they can if they have a problem, we can service it, but there's no cost to an annual cost.
Okay.
If you lease them, then there's a cost, so there would be a cost.
yeah.
Other questions, council, for EMS?
Just clarify, so you show Sulacout, you show Hudson, and then you show Public Works. Okay, what's the Public Works one about?
Well, that's all the communication for the vehicles,
Okay,
and it's all analog, and everything's moved to digital now. And so in order to tie everything together, the water power for us guys, we need the 2 repeaters together.
okay. Shouldn't that come out of Andrew's budget?
It's a main communication
I think Councillor Southall's question was, this is in the emergency budget, not the public works budget. Is there a reason? or-
It's all part of the fire department, so. It's in our shed, and it's, we all look after it, and we get it all serviced together, so.
Further questions, council?
Yeah, is the total 59.5 or is it 6,100?
It might have changed a bit because we changed a few numbers and I never double checked the bottom. Apologize.
Okay.
I apologize for that. We had last minute changes to our budget.
All right, council, we'll move on to the next capital item. Department.
Now if I can get Jody Brinkman to come up from facilities. Ready? There's quite a few for facilities because he looks after all the buildings and all the that the municipality owns. So there's going to be quite an array of items in this area. So the first projects there, you have your arena dressing room upgrades. And as you can see across the top, we have the project, whether budget and how the money is going to be allocated for those projects. So some is grants, some is reserves, debt, or a tax levy. He has the arena fire alarm, the library camera, a library basement, library washrooms, and so for these ones here, there's a tax impact of $25,500.
Why don't we do questions on these before we move to the next?
Yes, I'd like to do them as we're going through. If you just have questions, and that way we can deal with them now.
All right, council, this one, yeah. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, Jody, what kind of what further upgrades are you talking to the dressing rooms?
Through Mayor Lawrence, we're looking at just we kind of got to a certain point this year with the upgrades, and we just kind of want to finish the benches, insulating the water piping, eventually bulkheading around all the water piping, building that exposed, upgrade the exhaust fans, they're all kind of roof mounted exhaust fans, kind of more efficient exhaust fans. And flooring, some of the flooring and some of the areas.
Councillor Southall.
I'm questioning till I think we'll see how a new council directs, but I think we're looking probably at a recreation plan and what we're going to do in the future. And my opinion is I hesitate to spend more money on an old building that hopefully we're going to get rid of in 5 years. Anyhow, that's just.
Councillor Lego.
I did a tour of the arena with Chris Favat, and it was basically a lot of cosmetic stuff that he was saying that needed to be done, so I'm kind of in Councillor Southall's.
My only comment would be, I think we're, to say if we were 5 years away from a new facility, I think that would be a short time frame, and we can't let it go. Yeah. Councillor Bath.
Yeah, I certainly agree with what Councillor Southall is saying, that, you know, it is an old building, we're going to get rid of it, but it certainly isn't going to be in 5 years, and it's a public building, it belongs to the municipality, we can't afford to let it look run down, and it has looked run down. It's our responsibility and our due diligence to keep it looking like it's a reasonable building. It's what we've got, and we need to keep it looking good.
I would disagree a little bit there, Councillor Bath. Sorry, Mayor Lawrence. The renovations that did take place in there, they upgraded the shower, the paint's still fresh, like it doesn't look terrible, and you know they're hockey dressing rooms. You're in there for half an hour, a little bit more maybe. I just, like, if we're looking at something, maybe this is something we can shelf till next year to look at, depending on what our recreational study comes back with.
I don't think we're going to vote on these tonight. It'll come to that. Yeah, but good discussion, yep. Carry on? Yep. Anything else on this, questions, comments on 10, 11, or 12 on this slide? Councillor Cassidy?
Yeah, is the fire alarm a whole new system, or is it up, or just repairs to the existing one, or?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, so early last year, the actual fire alarm panel went kaput, and it was like, I don't know, it's from the 80s, so it went kaput, so we had to replace it. And we have, and it cost quite a bit of money, so we couldn't kind of continue that replacement. So you have all these old heat detectors and smoke detectors throughout the building that are not addressable. So the idea of this is to expand on the new panel installed, so we have an addressable heat detector, smoke detector system, so when a fire, the fire alarm does go off, then it's easier to determine where the source of the fire is, or where the fire alarm is pulled.
By addressable, I think it means that when the fire department comes
Yeah.
in, they can see that and they know where.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Mhm.
Councillor Cassidy?
Sorry, just to follow up with that. So if, depending on what happens to the dressing room upgrades, could this come out of reserves instead of the tax levy?
Yes, they could.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions on the items on this slide, Council? Councillor Timpson?
Just a comment on the upgrade of the arena dressing room. I have heard from people totally disgusted I haven't been in them, but I've heard people just don't want to be bothered going in there anymore. And I think we need to think about that, whether it's going to repulse people from using the arena.
Councillor Lego?
As I stated, I did a tour about 3 days ago, and everything's looking very good in there.
Yeah, I think your comments are probably a bit out. That was true perhaps 4 months ago, but
Last year, yeah.
I think it has been considerably cleaned up.
So what then would be done extra over and above what was done last year?
I think that's what the CBO
Yeah,
stated already.
would you mind
yeah.
repeating it so that I can put that in context? Thanks.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, so we look at new benches, insulating all the exposed water piping, as well as bulkheading around all the exposed water piping, replace the rest of the stand-up urinals, and upgrade the exhaust fans.
Upgrade the what?
Exhaust fans.
Thank you.
Any further questions on this slide? All right, thank you, Treasurer. Next slide. Oh, sorry, Councillor Southall. Yeah.
I wanted to, just, what is the Indigenous Knowledge Center?
Sorry, is that on? Oh, okay.
Well, it's under facilities here.
No, we just have the renovations under facilities.
It says on the spreadsheet, you have an item 11 on your spreadsheet.
It says library basement, and that's,
There says in,
On here, it says Indigenous Knowledge Center, it's $285,000, so it's not something that's
part of it,
minor.
yeah.
But
Okay,
it's
sorry.
on-
What it is the infrastructure to develop, to incorporate and be able to bring in the Indigenous Peace Knowledge Center and possible museum enhancements there. So we have one cultural community hub. So it's infrastructure and the materials. Actually, it's relatively inexpensive because it provides, can provide a revenue flow. And the $85,000 is probably just reflecting our accessibility and some of the infrastructure, but the 200,000 is everything complete, walls, equipment.
So we're gonna get more on this in your budget, or we're covering it now? I'm just curious what it,
Yeah.
what it
Can I
actually
just-
is.
We overlap on occasion,
Yeah.
and so, because it's really mostly, I'd say 85% of it is infrastructure, and maybe 15% it is programming and partnership development, which would be the partnership with Truth and Reconciliation, and as well as our museum project community. So what that is if we've had an empty basement, we have no more accessible properties for commercial and development, we have a growth spurt up in the community, and therefore we're asking government to support us with $200,000 to bring this library basement into function so that we can have one cultural center in the community. And
Would this move the museum into the library basement, and then that would become rentable space in the?
yeah, we're desperate right now.
The museum would, like the
Yes.
train station would become rentable,
Yes.
and this would be,
Become
Yep.
one-stop shop, which is the seven, if you read the seven, if they call it the seven-generation library concept, and what, here, I'm like, and so we're really trying to implement and move forward with that because these are becoming the community hub focus for government programs and social and services. This is where your tourists go to get, internet. This is where, our visitors go and locate. Instead of having it in three pieces, we would have it in one complete area. We wouldn't require, instead of having staff over here and staff over here, they could function and provide more services and revenue generation through this relationship and partnership.
that was gonna be my next question. Would this require staff, or is there a possibility to generate
would
income from this?
We
or-
would generate some income, but we would also have a shift of staffing. We already have staff, and that budget, it's up, it's pending negotiations still, and approval of the funding, before we get into the operations. But the projection would say that we definitely could create a revenue stream.
Councillor Bath?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, is it the 200,000 that's listed under grants, is that already grants we've obtained, or we have?
No, they're pending, but they've been accepted so far.
Councillor Cassidy?
So you're saying the 200,000 should cover the whole project? Or from what I understood was most of it?
Oh, yeah.
And the 85 is kind of your contingency?
No.
Or
85,000 is what we are putting towards
that, okay,
the 200,000.
okay.
So the total project budget is 285,000.
Yep.
That includes the cultural equipment, the equipment, technology, and the furniture, and the infrastructure in the building to set up the museum and the Indigenous Cultural Center or Knowledge Center in that space.
Is the footprint changing, or everything is happening within the same footprint too?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
The only thing that would change, Jody, is allowing better accessibility into the building. Is that not?
Yeah, through Mayor Lawrence, we would install a new, basically a new main entrance in the space.
On the
On the
on the lower level, yeah.
Go in the back. That has been sitting empty for a very long, unused property that we own, so.
Councillor Timpson?
Would the moving of the museum to the library need to be a council decision?
The intent is we have it in the budget because we're planning, if Christie hasn't already done so, put in the grant application. We can't go forward with it unless we get the funding. So we're presenting this at this point, but the idea is to present it to council and to the library board once we have all our ducks in order and we know that we can get the funding. So that's the intent. We're going to be bringing a report forward to council to discuss how we want to move the museum and what the components will be to incorporate the Indigenous part of it. And we believe it's a win-win situation because right now it's only opened on weekends and it's not being utilized to its full capacity. And this is a way to incorporate it by cutting staffing as well. Like staffing would increase at the library, but also decrease from the municipal side. So we're planning on bringing a report to council for that, but we're putting it here in the budget as far as capital, because if we do get those monies, we need to know whether council will commit to the $85,000 in debt for debt finance.
You know when it will be coming to council?
As soon as we hear on the
All right, shall we move on to the next slide? Good.
The next set of projects for facilities is the municipal office, HVAC, fire hall, public works, biomass, heat, the light industrial subdivision design for the airport, gateway, sign, and a vehicle.
Go ahead, CBO.
You just want me to give, sorry, through Mayor Lawrence.
Just give a brief description of each one.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the municipal office HVAC, as you all may be aware, it's not as efficient of a system as it could be. So this, what I was looking at was install a kind of a direct digital control system to control and monitor the HVAC system, install these sensors and control valves as needed, and variable air volume boxes throughout the air handling system to help with efficiencies and staff comfort. And as well, just a general review of the system. The system is it was constructed in 95, 96, and everything's kind of nearing the end of its useful life, so we just need to get a good idea of where we are with that and plan for down the road. Yeah, the idea would be the whole building. And then you got some of the wings, you have a single, or these two wings over here, you have a single air handler use system heating and cooling the south and the north sides of the space, so it's hard to control keeping the same temperature on either side of the space. The fire hall, so the fire hall biomass, that would be to install a biomass boiler to heat the public works building, the fire hall, the carpenter shop, the water meter building, and the other heated outbuildings in that area. And that's largely funded. The airport light industrial subdivision, we have a kind of a conceptual design to the north of the airport for a light industrial subdivision. The intent here would be to further that design into a kind of a construction-ready design for eventual construction. We, through you, Mayor Lawrence, we get a lot of people interested, and that's where the sticking point is that we say, yes, give us a year or two to get this property ready, and then it's there for you. It'd be nice to have something just in place, because you don't want to start kind of separating lots willy-nilly. You want to do it in an orderly fashion that's not going to affect the remaining property down the road. And just having this plan in place will help us say, okay, we have this property. It's not the plan to suddenly develop this large subdivision. It's to have the design ready, so as interest comes in and people start picking up lots, we can kind of forward the construction of it deeper into, basically, to the north.
So what would this entail? Just a concept, just a design? Or
This would be construction-ready subdivision drawings with the stormwater management plan, associated environmental assessment, and these other studies as needed.
Councillor Cassidy.
So these lots are for sale or lease?
Through your Mayor Lawrence, they'd be for lease.
For lease. And where would the financing go, or the money go for that? Would it go into the airport's budget, or would it go into? So the debt from this will that show up from the airport, or will that show up in operations?
Through your Mayor Lawrence Airport.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, no, it wouldn't have impact on your taxes if it's going for the airport and it's the airport. It'd be the airport that has to carry the cost because they would be receiving the revenue later. It's all the airport. The reason we have it here is because it's facilities, and facilities has been working on projects, and that's why these are separated the way they're separated. That would be something we'd have to look at. We'd still have to carry the debt, and it would go against the municipality's debt ratio, though.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, moving on, the gateway sign, this was to raise the sign and provide lighting, but thanks to Cal, the raising has been done, and so I guess it would be to provide lighting for the sign. I don't think the 12,000 is really high for that, so. And then the next facilities vehicle, we had an old Ford truck that was taken off the road this year, so the plan is to replace that for the guys. And that's it.
Questions, further questions on this slide, Council? Okay, next slide.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. So we have some, again, this is an older building, approximately 25 years. Some of the the panes have lost their seals, and this would be to replace the affected windows, as well as the building was designed to have awnings placed over the south-facing windows, so the intent would be to install those awnings as per the original design. The sewage treatment plant gate and man door, essentially install a powered vehicle gate and a man door to access the dog pound, and just in order to control access and increase security. There's a old garage out at the old landfill that Andrew at Public Works uses for storage, cold storage, so it's in serious need of repairs, so new shingles, some exterior finishings, replace all the deteriorated materials in the building. And
Councillor Southall?
I want to go back to the sewage treatment plant gate and the main doors. So that's where you go down by Blueberry Hill, and you want to put a gate in there and new doors on the dog pound.
no, sorry, it's the fencing. There's already a fence there around the property, so a gate, and either try to use the existing vehicle gate and install a powered gate there, and then like a man door through the gate to access the dog pound. Dan Perrin would not be happy. But through your Mayor Lawrence, that would reduce the cost for sure.
What do we have now?
It's the gate isn't used right now, and I think there's just some issues with the construction of it. It needs to be fixed and worked on. Through your Mayor Lawrence, yeah, it would be to control access into the space. There's a lot more activity down there, and they just want to control the access into there.
The dog park is down at that end now with the 20-unit supportive housing. Yeah. Councillor Cassidy.
The building is locked up and secure though, right?
Through your mail, I believe so. We don't, that'd be Northern Waterworks that's secure, but I believe it's all locked up. What's next?
Well, you're on 21, I think.
So security measures, Dock Moberly, that would be that's the pumping station down past the town beach there. Install cameras and a door alarm. Due to this, there's a somewhat isolated location. There's been attempted break-ins in the past, and damage inside could affect, access to water for the municipality. It's kind of a popular hangout spot down there, and people like to get into mischief, so it's just better monitor the area. The Dock Moberly pumping station.
Yeah, yeah, okay, down at the, yeah, I
Yeah,
got it.
the-
Okay, very good.
And then lot servicing at the Hillcrest property. So right now it's an unserviced lot, so the intent here would be to provide water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer services to the property line.
How close?
Where are we
I'm
at?
sorry.
We've got, yeah, we've got through the M&R hurdles a little bit now, or?
Any further questions on this slide, Council? Next slide.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, this is for the potential eco village to be constructed in Sioux Lookout. So this would be for the water, sewer, road infrastructure into the space, and we are actively looking at funding opportunities for the work here. The infrastructure expansion, Boyle Trails, that would be to extend water, sewer services, sanitary sewer services, and road infrastructure north of the subdivision for future expansion. In our new official plan, we have designated the area north there as a future development zone. And this is just to help more readily develop that property.
If we're able to access provincial and federal funding for this, are we still looking, are we looking at a $3 million project here, or would that come off of the $1 million?
You're referring to 23 or 24, Councillor Southwell? The Eco Village or
I'm
the?
talking about the 23. We're
Okay,
talking about $1 million infrastructure. I'm just saying, and then there's possibility of accessing government funding for that. Is that our portion is 1 million and the whole project is 3 million, or are we going to be on the hook for 330,000 and the other governments?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the budget would be 1.5 million.
No, I'm talking about the Eco Village to extend water down Prince Street.
Yeah, the budget would be 1 million to extend water, sewer service, and road infrastructure.
And is there an opportunity for grants?
if we were to develop this, would we get paid for the lots for these 10, or would that be a donation to the eco-village?
That would be probably a contribution to get the houses started to be built.
Would we get any compensation from Sacred Heart School for tying into biomass?
We could look at green incentives, and we are looking at those incentives now, Jody and I, from a municipal perspective. So I would say the way that they're showing it, it's only debt if we move forward. It's not a tax levy. So if all the moons align, we would be very well off in return, revenue return, and collection.
Other questions, Councillor Timpson?
Question about the Boreal Trails. Isn't that pretty risky to put $1.5 million into the Boreal Trails? They're not. Those lots are not selling. Wouldn't
Not
we?
really into Boreal Trails. It's to go beyond Boreal Trails into the.
Yeah, but why would
To
we
the
be
north.
going beyond Boreal Trails when Boreal Trails is not selling?
Because of I think the interest in large multi-unit apartment buildings that right now, as the economic development manager said, a 40-unit building that requires a larger lot, much larger lot than is available in Boreal Trails.
Is it? Okay. So that's beyond it's north of the Boreal Trails, not in the Boreal Trails.
That's
And
correct, yeah.
who owns that land north of Boreal Trails? Is that municipal land?
Mr. Dale Hogg currently owns it.
Okay, so that's coming to council. I think one of the difficulties is trying to get your head around some of these projects where the thinking has gone beyond where we're at. You know, the Eco Village, I know very little about that. I know very little about the Dale Hogg issue. And the 40 unit, that's news to me. So anyway.
It's rapidly developing news, let's just say, and it's on the council agenda. It will be on the
Yeah. Right.
If we want to entertain having them build 10 homes now, and they're pre-selling them practically, we have to make an investment to
Right.
space. And as far as the Boreal Trail expansion, private sector, they've chosen the location that they want to start to build. They are building first floor. So that total of 106 units at the end of the day. It also provides us with the infrastructure for expansion in the event that we needed to locate a sports and recreation facility somewhere in Central near the health campus, so and rail system. So it's presenting, it's proactively preparing ourselves, something that Silicon needs to do.
Councillor Southall?
Andrew, would that 1.5 million, would that just give us 10 lots extending down Prince, or would it have options of both sides, or how would that go?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, how I was consulted in this was I was asking about per meter, linear cost based on past projects. I don't know anything else about it. So the only one comment I might have on some of the discussion that I just heard in terms of looking for funding was every OCF application I've ever filled out, you have to prove how you're addressing critical health and safety concerns and expansion of infrastructure. I don't think all that criteria unless there's some OCF funding I'm not aware of.
Councillor Cassidy?
So again, I'm in Joyce's boat. I don't know a whole lot about the Eco Village yet, but I remember you saying, Andrew, that Queen Street infrastructure is in really rough shape on that end. Queen Street south of Prince there on by Sacred Heart, that end of it, is that?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, Queen Street, south of Prince Street is actually newer infrastructure.
Okay.
West of 8th Avenue. Prince Street would be older, but Queen Street has been expanded with newer infrastructure, now from 8th Avenue to 9th Avenue, and then from 9th Avenue to the end, that was actually an infrastructure addition that took place in the 80s.
Okay.
So that infrastructure again, west of Queens actually
Oh, it is good. Okay.
Let's move on to the next slide. Councillor Cassidy. So.
Sorry, Andrew, would that infrastructure then would that be able to support an eco village at the end of Queen instead of Prince?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yeah, the water main infrastructure to the end of Queen is 6-inch water main would be able to be expanded for something of that capacity. The sewer would have to be looked into because currently, right now, the sewer flows east, right? So if you're going west, I don't know how that would work because you're going uphill more or less. So you'd have to have some investigation into there. So you could have gravity continuing in an easterly direction, or you would need some pump facility there to move it up, right? I'm not familiar with walking. Like I said, I was not involved in Joni's visions here, other than providing a per linear meter price of underground infrastructure.
Thank you, Andrew.
And through you, Mayor Lawrence, it's not Jody's vision. All we've been asked by the investors is, can you start to be prepared? They're meeting already with M&R on the property. They've already presented presentations. They've set up built an office here. They're very sincere. The proximity to the school is really important to the funding of this project and the process moving forward. So I think this is the first introduction because we know that we're going to have to make some form of investment in a multi-million-dollar opportunity for the community. So I think all we're doing right now, Jody and I, are desktop, and that's what we presented as a desktop.
Section,
And
mhm.
we'll take it from there. And you're correct on OCIF as far as it goes with safety, but it also does look for, when you go outside of water, it looks for other sources of, power and et cetera. We could start to look at other types of infrastructure. So that's basically what the purpose of that is. But like I said, it's not going anywhere unless we could secure the private sector and they want to stay here. And when you're dealing with private sector, one, it takes many months and hard months of negotiation to get them to stay and invest. $14 million is not an easy amount of money to get.
Is that the end of the, sorry, no, you have, yep, 25 and 26.
Through your Mayor Lawrence, so again, kind of a general update in the lobby bathrooms at the rec center. And same thing with the rec center, the men's change room, a general updating. The lobby bathrooms definitely are. Like, we did some work in the change room several years ago, and so that'd be more ceiling tiles and some upgrades in around the vanity and things like that.
This is where you go past the food bar and down to the block?
Yeah.
Further questions for facilities? I don't think so. So we'll move on to Public Works.
So we're going to go through the Public Works and Utilities budget for projections for capital requests.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, if I could just back up for 1 second. I know we don't want to go backwards, but there was just two things that overlapped with me that I just wanted to provide a little more detail to council and the public that might help inform your decision. In regards to Robbie with the radio repeaters, 2 years ago when the hands-free rules come out for you can't use hands-free, the transportation sector was granted a 2-year grace, so we're still allowed to use handheld radios. That was a year ago. We're at a year now where that will be gone. We would need to advance to something digital like that so we could have like Bluetooth radio communication, which we do use quite frequently at Public Works, to communicate all the employees throughout all plowing efforts, all sorts of things like that. So that would be on top, included with what Robbie's proposed there. It's needed for that. And in regards to the gate at the STP, was a phone call from local law enforcement that asked us if we could start securing that facility. the perimeter, once the 20-unit transitional housing was up and running. The contractor is closing the gate at this time. It's somewhat cumbersome. However, it does work. He's asked for automated, so it's a request. If the automation isn't required because he can, like you said, just get out of the truck and close the gate, then what is required there is a man gate though, however, because what's going on is the shelters using the dog pound to house dogs and stuff like that, and they're continually trying to open this large vehicle gate to gain access. So at minimum, we would need a man gate there.
Thank you.
Okay, so through your mail notes, once again, the first project, road resurfacing asphalt. The grant there, the 224,664, what you see is the formula-based funding from OCIF that we receive every year, and the reserve contributions from the road reserve is from the road reserve contribution. That road resurfacing is targeted for Mitchell Drive. Mitchell Drive was a subdivision, and if I'm talking too much, you can shut me down because I tend to go into detail. So it's Mitchell Drive, which is a subdivision that was established in the late 70s. The infrastructure underneath the ground is relatively new. However, the road surfacing is surface treatment and it's finished. There's nothing left of it. So we're just talking about leaving the existing curb and gutter and replacing the road surface with asphalt in Mitchell Drive, which is off of May Street by the Forest Inn. A second component of that is a section of May Street was completed with asphalt upgrades with May Street and Hoey Drive. This would be finishing it off more or less from the top of the hill down towards Highway 72. Another component of that is 4th Avenue South, which is towards H&M Cars, and the CN use it quite extensively. There's a track of road there by Custom Collision, and where Robert Street intersects with 4th Avenue, the surface treatment is basically completely disintegrated. There's drainage problems from Robert Street, so this would be new asphalt gutter on 4th Avenue and Robert Street, just to better facilitate drainage and upgrade the existing asphalt. There isn't any infrastructure underneath the road there that requires immediate replacement, so it would be. And the third location is 3rd Avenue from Fair Street north to approximately just north of Wide Street. Once again, it's surface treatment with concrete curb and gutter that's in very good condition. There's no water or sewer underneath there. It'd be an upgrade of a road surface that's a higher volume of traffic that I wouldn't recommend that we put surface treatment back for the volume of traffic. It'd be just remove the surface treatment and 2-inch lifts of asphalt.
Can you go what is that section again? 3rd
Avenue north of Fair to just north of Wide Street. Once you get north of Wide Street, you got to contend with underground.
Sorry, what is Wide Street? I'm not familiar with Wide Street.
Oh, sorry, Meadwell Drive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, you're very good. Good catch, sorry, yeah. Because if you go past Meadwell, you're into underground infrastructure that would need to be assessed before we could go any further with road surfacing, resurfacing. And asphalt's expensive, so that's where it's at. The next project is just to get designs done, so we're shovel ready for some upgrades of some avenues. One is 8th Avenue, would be from Front Street to Prince Street. It's one of the last avenues in town that's still surface treated. It has inadequate drainage as far as ditches or swales, if you want to call them that. There's no curb and gutter. There's not a lot of infrastructure underneath 8th Avenue except for the intersections with King and Queen and Prince. So it'd basically just be renewing some infrastructure there, but more or less it'd just be a surface works project of instantiating some drainage and a new road service for a very heavily traveled road that's in very poor condition.
That would be from 8th Avenue from Front to Prince?
Yes, and this is just designed, just to be shovel ready, just to be proactive. That's what we're looking for here.
Councillor Southall?
Is there any further talk about extending 8th Avenue through to the Meadow Yall?
The land is purchased and the right-of-way is ready, but we haven't, it would be ours now. It's our discussion, yeah. Depending on what happens at the site, perhaps what becomes of the zone property, it might impact that. So they would have access from two sides, but that seems, there's been no discussion for.
I'm going to go back and see, I've got your attention. I'm going to go back to the gate at the sewer treatment plant. If Northern Waterworks is using that, could they not contribute something toward that too?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, it's somewhat outside of their contract. They do minor facility upgrades like cleaning floors or painting and something like, but the facility is owned by the municipality and maintenance in that capacity isn't part of their contract.
So would it affect us if they had to get out of the truck and open the gate, or whether as long as we had it secured, would that Yeah, I know it would be inconvenience, but
So, through you, Mayor Lawrence, I think it's just the fact that they are in and out of there quite a bit. They haul loads of sludge 3-4 times a day. They're in there checking this and that. It's just, and they probably drive by the airport and see that one going on its own. And then, okay, well, no, we put that in the airport budget then.
Well,
Yeah, that's a very nice one.
yeah.
All pine, stowaway there.
if Northern Water Works did it, it would eventually come back to either through user fee or through capital in that budget, I would guess, too.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, it's in Jody's budget because it's part of facility, but I mean, if it would come back around on, the facilities actually would be maintained by user fee, so you could look at that as coming back to the user fees of sewer and water users, yes. The second component of number 28 is Third Avenue, get a design for that. That would be from Second Avenue eastward to Atwood Street to upgrade that area by the curling rink and the golf course, curling rink and the ball diamonds. Surface upgrades, the water main underneath there is fairly new. The problem there is drainage. I've already initiated contact with the Golf and Curling Club committee, whoever they are, I'm not too sure. Because the drainage has to go through their property. There's actually some designs I found preliminary, previous, that could be incorporated because there's some filter-based design because we don't want to put all that surface water through the property. So that would be the same. We'd extend the sidewalk up, start continuing with the sidewalk network there. So it's just, once again, it's just a design to be shovel-ready for an area of town that's highly used and in very poor condition. And gonna get busier, yeah. Number 29, this would be funded from reserves. It says that's the utility reserves, just so you know, we have an equipment reserve in the utility sewer and water funding. And our current sewer flusher, it works, yes. It's from the 60s. It's a fairly old unit, and I don't want it to fail. It's a vital piece of equipment. For example, if we have a sewer main blockage that's filling someone's basement, we need to move. And the current one is from the 60s. Yes, it still does work. What this would do would be a complete new unit on a trailer. It doesn't require a truck and chassis like the existing one does. And we could use both until such a time we had catastrophic failure with the existing one, but then we'd have a new one ready to go. Or we could simply retire the new one. It's old. We're having trouble getting replacement parts for the pump and for a piece of equipment like that. I asked some other places what they do, and they're hiring people out. They're contracting people to come in and clean their sewers. We're doing our own sewer maintenance right now with this unit. We flush all our sewers. We have zones. We're trying to do the entire town on a 3-year rotation through zones. We have quarterly areas where are problematic, where we do every quarter, 4 times a year. So the unit is vital to maintaining the sewer maintenance in Sioux. So.
You sold that one pretty hard.
Like I said, I could talk, so if you want to shut me down, please. The rebuild of the street sweeper, the current street sweeper is a 1995 unit that we bought as a demo. It's just simply wore out. However, there's nothing wrong with the chassis. The chassis has next to no kilometers on it. There's no rust on it because it's not used in the winter. But the vacuum and sweeping components are wore out after 20-some years of use, right? So we've talked to the dealer. This is actually coming to council in December to try to move it a little faster because to get it back in the springtime. So it's a rebuild of the sweeper and vacuum components, leaving the chassis and the truck alone. That estimate's actually quite high. It's like replacing every single component on the truck. However, once it gets in the shop and stripped down, there'd be an evaluation process done, and components that don't need to be replaced wouldn't be replaced. This is just the upper limit.
Councilor Cassidy.
Just for everyone's know-how, how much is a brand new street sweeper? What's the cost?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, you'll see that in the report in next week. It's $350,000 for a similar unit. And I did look at options. Like I said, I don't want to talk here for too long, but a mechanical sweeper would be ideal for what we need to clean streets. But then we can't clean catch basins, all our stormwater catchments. We have over 500 of them. So I looked at like a unit that would be like a small trailer that would be a vac unit, for example, and then have a separate mechanical sweeper. But the problem is in order to get something that can actually clean and vac, it's beyond the capacity of like a trailer unit. So what we're trying to accomplish, we're best to try and accomplish with something similar to what we have now. So spending $100,000 on this take us to another 20 years of use as we've got out of it so far. Although, like I said, a mechanical sweeper would be ideal. It would go a lot faster than the vacuum sweeper we have. But Dryden has a mechanical sweeper, but they also have a large vac truck. We are trying to kill two birds with one stone, for lack of a better term. Mill Road reconstruction, this is a big one. So I have in front of me, that's the upper limit of it. What it is the Mill Road in Hudson. I found documentation in Public Works back to 2006 when we've been discussing rebuilding this road. It's been applied for funding twice and been denied twice. It's in dire need. It's probably one of the worst roads that we have for the volume of traffic that travels over it. There's no drainage. The surface is done. I don't think we can repair it anymore. So what I did last year was council approved to go ahead and get a design for it. So we have a design. And that is the upper upset limit of it. And just to give you an idea, that there includes a foundation for a sidewalk for the entire length and a 80 millimeter lift of asphalt. So a double lift of asphalt, that would get you the 1.8 million. However, options, if you wanted to remove this provision for a future sidewalk, it would go down to 1.7 approximately. And then if you wanted to have it done in such a fashion that we don't have to incur some other expenses where we don't know where the remaining is coming from. The estimate is just over $1 million to have it done with surface treatment. So the difference between asphalt and surface treatment is almost $600,000.
Councillor Southwell?
Would it be possible, you're talking about a double lift of asphalt, would it be possible to do it with one lift and then do a second lift in a year or 2 years?
That could be an option. So by way of that, the double lift here is at, the consultant's got it at $64 a square meter. So you'd only be taking off probably about $15 a square meter. So it would be a reduction of probably over $150,000 or so. But if we were hung up on that, and then you could do it with surface treatment for $100,000. And then in the interim, have a surface, and then with the realization that in 5 years from now or something, you could then also consider asphalt.
How is that working? I know that we did a 2-layer and then you applied a third layer the following year. How is that? Is that standing up better than?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the roads that we did this year, I think it's too early to tell. The third lift was just put on this year. That was what Miller, the contractor, that's what they do for MTO, and he says if you want to get any sustainability out of it, that's the way to do it. So when you look at it as a third overlay, it works out to about $1 something a square meter. It's a pretty good bang for the buck if you get 2-3 more years out of it by the third overlay. So that's what they do for MTO. So I didn't do it on all the roads. We did it on the roads that essentially have a higher volume of traffic, and then the roads that are a lower volume of traffic, we're going to leave at 2 lifts, and then from there we can see if, a little bit of comparison, see if.
Okay. Councillor Lego first, then Councillor Timpson.
Has there been any discussion with Lac Seul First Nation, as that's their main artery of coming out of their community?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, when we submitted this for funding, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, we had a support letter from Lac Seul. But I don't want to speak on behalf of anyone. It's our road. Lac Seul has already spent $1 million on their component of the road. I realize that it doesn't facilitate the mill anymore. However, it does facilitate a boat launch and some tourism out that way. So it's a piece of infrastructure that's got some heavy traffic that needs to be upgraded. And I think we need to find a way to do it instead of just shelving it and saying, let's wait for funding again. I don't think we can wait anymore.
Councillor Timpson, then Councillor Fallon.
Can you just tell me where does it start and where does it start? Is it at?
So the Mill Road would start its First Avenue. So if you come into Hudson on the highway and you turn south at the Starrett residence, right on top of the hill. So you're coming in, you go past the liquor store, you turn to the left. That's 2nd Avenue, and then you go down to the big corner. That would be 4th Street until you got to the end of the build-up area. That's First Avenue. So the Mill Road starts there, and it would continue for 1.2 kilometers to the intersection with what we call Goody Lake Road, or where the road wides off to the mill. We're not entertaining anything with the portion of the road. This is just to the intersection of Goody Lake Road.
Councillor Fallon.
Couple of comments on that. The sidewalk would be a big improvement because there is a certain amount of people that walk on that road, and it is highly traveled, very highly traveled now. But it's got to be up to a certain amount of standard because there is at times heavy trucks that do travel on it going to Lac Seul. Lac Seul is very busy with construction and stuff like that, and you see cement trucks still going over that way this year here. So I think we should try and maintain the road up to a little better standard than what they had on the other, what was put on from Goody Lake Road. Yeah. Yeah. And it, for the travel that's on that road, it's starting to deteriorate already in places when you start going up on the Goody Lake Road. They've done some repairs on it and warranty work when if a year after.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I believe they are not, they didn't commit to a third of that on that road.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question the durability between the two surfaces. So, I mean, there's not too many roads of that capacity that are surface treated that don't have load restrictions in the spring, right? So we wouldn't be able to put a load restriction on that road, and then you have a road with a surface treatment surface. It's prone to damage. But I'm just saying it's just an option.
Councillor Cassidy?
Yeah, just a comment for the treasurer here. I'm just curious. It says 562,000 from the gas tax. In the beginning of the presentation, he says our gas tax grant is only 319. How's that work?
That's cumulative of gas tax that we haven't used all our gas tax.
Okay, so there's extra still.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be for gas tax.
You got me on the edge of my seat, I guess.
Councillor Southwell, did you have a question?
I just want to, how many people would be walking on the side of the road? Like, we're talking over $100,000 for a sidewalk. How many people?
Doesn't matter how many. If you run one kid over because you got a car, that sidewalks are going to pay for it. Or one person. It doesn't even have to be.
There's sidewalks in town that people don't even use anyway right now, too.
Sorry, I don't mean to interject, but through you, Mayor Lawrence, I just want to clarify this. It's not 100,000, I just rounding numbers. The numbers here are 30,000 for some part of it, then another 26 and 7, so 8, 25, 33, and another 63,000. But that is just the preparation for the sidewalk. That does not include concrete. It's the preparation. A base outside, so you have a road width of 3.5 meters, total 7 meters plus shouldering. Now you have an extension of aggregate as a base for a future sidewalk.
Councillor Fanlon?
Is that road currently right now wider onto standard?
Mayor Lawrence, that'd be very difficult to tell because I don't think there's one edge of it left.
That's what I mean. Everybody is used to the wideness of the road, and the municipal standard is what, 3 feet off the pavement?
Mayor Lawrence, there's different standards for a rural road versus, so being a ditched road like that, if you were going to compare it to Drayton Road, those lane widths are 3.25 meters, I believe, with a 0.25 meter shoulder. So you're looking at 3.57, 7.5, 8 meters, sorry, wide of surface. With 7, so 3.25 meter lanes gives you 7.5, correct? And then 0.5 or on each side, more or less, so close to 8 meters width of surface, incorporating a shoulder, a paved shoulder to a granular with a granular shoulder, and then ditched, right? There's no ditching there whatsoever, so there would be some extensive ditching. This also includes $200,000 in potential rock removal based on some quick survey when they surveyed it. That could be something that doesn't need to be expensed at capacity, although they have identified bedrock that would need to be removed to facilitate drainage.
Councillor Cassidy?
If we did say we did the tar and chip treatment, whatnot, could we potentially just leave a pathway there that we could use with the tar and chip material and run a pathway with that instead of full concrete, full-blown sidewalk? Is that an option, or?
That tar and chip would never, through
It
the
wouldn't-
Mayor Lawrence, tar and chip would never last as a walkway. It has no edging stability.
Okay.
Sorry, there's also a problem in the way to place it like that with this type of stuff.
Oh, okay.
I think we can move to the next slide. Sorry, Councillor Fallon, one.
Is it still worth looking at trying to apply for a grant for it still?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, in the 5 years I've been here, the grants I've seen are either driven by economics or driven by need to, or health and safety for infrastructure replacement. And then I guess there's some odd ones that come up here and there that don't pertain to that. That question may be better directed to Vicky, but right now I don't foresee or know of any funding opportunities that would contribute to that. When you look at OCIF and it talks about roads and critical health and safety, you have to come forward with like geometry issues and accident stats, you know, saying that's why this road's and that doesn't qualify, right? So that's why with that funding we target water and sewer, so mostly since.
Councillor Lego?
That's why I was asking about Lac Seul First Nation. They may be able to access some funding. Mhm. That sport may be enough to get some funding.
I mean, we could talk to Lac Seul and see what the increase in some of the economics that are going on in there. Their sawmill is so small that's not one. We do have some, they do have some resorts in that area, but again, it's not supporting enough.
Link it to the biomass that's going on in Lac Seul.
Well, that's happening here too, probably. Lac Seul had to link us to them to be able to do that. I mean, outside of that, I think, yeah, the only thing that would ever get that road fixed right now would probably be the mill through a funding process. But we never say never. We've never, in my time here, we have never attempted to do it on an economic basis. We were mostly trying to do it on a safety basis of walking and the quality and.
So the last funding that was available, I forget what the criteria was, but it was denied because they said it wasn't arterial, although we said it is arterial because it goes to Lac Seul First Nation. However, they denied that, having that status as an arterial road, and therefore that particular funding had to be for an arterial road. So that's why it was denied.
And that's a good point because I guess we could look at that. We could appeal that process with but 1.8 million, you usually got to create something, some economic impact in the community.
Councillor Cassidy?
There is also a lot of cutting going on down Kathleen that could be tied into their forest industry stuff too.
Yeah, how many trucks are going through there though, through Hudson?
There's just the one truck right now, and that's it. The rest, chip trucks go down either out to 72 on Kathleen Lake Road or go into a little bit more west and get onto the north road.
You still got it.
Councillor Cassidy?
Yeah, it's still service the workers from town here going out, do the commutes back and forth. They'd go that way probably,
Well,
maybe
we
back.
could talk about public safety if the busing system starts to run out that way. That's maybe something, John, we could take Councillor Bath, we could take a look at, is because, you know, again, as well, we have not attempted to do it that way. I think it's just the condition, it's just atrocious.
Councillor
I'm
Fallon?
sorry, I
did you-
go out there a lot, so.
Councillor Fallon?
Sorry?
Oh, you were raising your pen or just?
No.
Councillor Southall?
I don't want to can you give us a ballpark if we skipped sidewalks and went with double layer tar and chip and then looked at next year a third layer? Is that easy to figure? Sorry, it's just for,
So we'd be looking at about 1.5.
okay.
Or 1.52. That's with a two-inch lift of asphalt and no provision for.
Oh, I was talking about tar and chip, just two. Oh, okay, and how much is that?
$958,285 before HST. 950, 960. Just tar and chip.
Any further discussion on? I think you've moved the slides now, have you? Yep, so let's move on to item 32.
Item 32 is fairly straightforward. It's just one of the standard units we have on the 3-ton trucks. One's from 2006, one's from 2008. They're steel, they're deteriorated. They need replaced with some new units to save the steel. Last about 6 times. Number 33, Robert Street Liftings, Robert Street Pumping Station. 98% of all your effluent and sewer coats go in there. This is just another pump for redundancy. We do have some redundancy there already in terms of spare parts. This is like a complete unit that could be put in and put out for that station. It's a recommendation from 34, the water intake inspections, they haven't been done. They're supposed to be done every 10 years. That's simply hiring a diver to go down with a camera and view the intakes. There's screens on them, so on and so forth, do a physical inspection, produce a report, do some cleaning, so on and so forth. Same with the outfall pipe at the sewage treatment plant, very similar situation. It's underwater. There's a team on it, some screens, just some general cleaning, and a report on it that requires any work with much treatment. Hudson Water Treatment Plant maintenance, that includes 2 turbidity analyzers and a spare VFD controller board. And the reason for the VFD controller board is because in 2017 we had a failure of a VFD, which caused a community-wide boil water advisory. So this will just put a spare, very low frequency drive controller unit on the shelf so that we don't end up in this situation.
Questions? Councillor Bath.
Andrew, can we go back to number 33 for a minute? I think I brought this up a couple of years ago. That pumping station is the heart of the sewage flow in Sioux Lookout, and there's no real redundancy built into it. I've always been nervous about that, and I'll talk about the electrical redundancy because I had worked on it at one time. And when it quits, you've got what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? I know.
There are 2 pumps in there.
It's not the pumps I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the overall electrical capacity. If your electrical service fails, you're out of business for half a year.
Well, there is standby generation power built into it, but you're thinking more along in terms of just like general failure of.
The total service, yeah. And I think it's something I'm sure it's quite expensive, but I think it's something that we should be putting into an option to look at so that we have it ready to go, because it's just too important a station to take a chance when something happens to it, whatever.
You're right, so it's about 98% of all our effluent goes to that pumping station.
Yeah.
So the sewage treatment plant on average is receiving between 2,000 and 2,200 cubic meters a day, so 2,200,000 liters a day. 98% of it's pumped there. If you want part of a 10-year plan, not to get off topic here, whatever, but we twinned the line from that pumping station from Front Street to King Street. But a second component of it was supposed to be, it was to twin the line from the Red Apple parking lot where we started back to the station itself. So, because if that line has a failure, you're also dead in the water, right? So there was talk about twinning that line all the way back, so you have a redundancy of two lines. It doesn't take long, wouldn't take long for, you'd have overland there in a matter of minutes. Overland spillage, right?
Further questions on this slide, Council? Councillor Timpson. Sorry. Okay, yep. Go ahead to the next slide then. Thank you.
37, a landfill loader undercarriage replacement. Although that unit was just purchased 18 months ago, it was purchased knowing that it wasn't, the undercarriage wasn't 100%. That's why it only cost 150,000 versus the 220,000 that was originally budgeted. So we used it for the 18 months, wore the last 20% of it off or so. And this is actually high. This is a budget, this was a number from Caterpillar. We've since got an estimate from Martel Diesel. I shouldn't be saying names, but we've got a second estimate, and it's quite a bit lower. So it's not quite a bit lower. We're still talking like 20,000, but not 24,000. Undercarriages are quite expensive. The last one is, that's a carryover from a project that's actually being initiated right now, and we could talk about this for a while, but there's a federal regulation for dechlorination of effluent that we have to comply by January 1st, 2022. So right now, our current environmental compliance approval states that our total residual chlorine level leaving the plant can be as high as 0.5 milligrams per liter. New regulations state that it must be 0.02. So we need to put in a dechlorination system. Right now, there's an RFP out from money that council authorized to spend last year to get an option study done as to, and that RFP includes a little bit more. That's in the works right now. We're hoping to have a design, some options presented, finalized in a report by June of this year, which then we would carry forward to the design stage, which this money would be used for here. I'll be 100% honest with you, I'm not a process engineer, and that was just a number I put in. It could be less. I'm not sure. I don't know what it would cost to design an additional sulfide gas is the main way that most people dechlorinate. So anyway, the cost would be, so if that wasn't the total cost of design or it was less, the money could be used for it through the construction, which has to be completed by December 31st, 2021.
So council questions on, and Councillor Timpson, I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Out of the, in all your projects here, there's 11. All but 3 are water and sewer, and it's all, most of it's coming out of reserves. Is that the water and sewer reserve? Okay. And
So when it says reserves for all, like the ones for Northern Waterworks, for example, you're correct. That's all. So number 38, 36, 35, 34, 33 are utility reserves from water and distribution, sewer and water utilities.
34, 35, 36?
33, 34, 35, 36,
Mm-hmm.
and 38.
Okay.
Those are utility reserves. 37
Mhm.
is a landfill reserve.
Okay.
There's a landfill reserve aside from the landfill. It's separate from the landfill closure fund.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. And then, for example, 30, that's the roads equipment reserve or the fleet reserve. That's allocated $250,000 a year. Put into that. 29 is the utility fleet reserve. It's a separate reserve from utilities, although it's the same fund, but it's put in a separate account to replace equipment. And the 28 is the roads reserve, once again, for the reserve part. And 27 is the roads reserve.
Thank you.
Further questions, council, for Public Works?
Thank you.
Thank you. Since people are moving, maybe I'll just declare a 3-minute health break and we'll come back. How's that? 3 minutes. 5.
There you go, you're right on the money, John. You should just tell somebody to get a new electronic clock that works off the internet. That's a new one.
All right, I'll bring the meeting back to order.
If I can make a comment through you, Mayor Lawrence. I'd like to apologize to the public because I didn't have the capital available for the public in the spreadsheet that all the council has. And I apologize for it. In previous years, we've never had it available for the public. That's why council just got it tonight. They never had it prior to tonight. We're just going through it right now. The slide presentation will be on the website. After the meeting, I'll be giving it to Brian, and he will ensure that it gets on the website probably by next week. I have Carly downstairs right now copying spreadsheets for you, so I apologize. I'm sorry.
On behalf of the public, we accept your apology.
And happy birthday.
All right, so we'll resume with, I think, Recreation and Culture, item 39.
This is the Recreation and Culture, their capital requests. I'll let Jen speak on each of these requests.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we have a truck put in there. One of our old Chevys was just taken off the road last year, so it's to replace a work vehicle for staff. The compressor overhaul, this is for our arena operations. So our arena runs off 4 compressors. One of our compressors has reached its hours and needs to be rebuilt. That's part of it. Boat launch upgrade. We were looking to prioritize different upgrading to all the 9 municipal boat launches that we operate. And a software upgrade. Currently, as of April, our database that we run off of is no longer has tech support and is no longer compliant. So if anything were to happen, we would not have a database to function off of. So we are actually looking to partner with finance and to see if we can branch off of their database as well so that we can interlink between the 2 departments.
Councillor Southall.
60,000 for boat launch. Do we generate any, is that out of taxes or is that out of user fees? I mean, I know we sell permits and...
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the cost for the boat launches would be through a tax levy. We do not generate enough revenue right now on the boat launches in order to sustain them. There's, I think, 7 boat launches?
9.
9 boat launches that we currently look after, and the revenue that comes in for boat launches compared to the cost of the boat launches does not sustain the boat launches.
45,000. Sorry.
Treasurer. Councillor Fenlon, after, are you confirming that number? Yeah. I'll let you look. Councillor.
In the budget for 2019 is 40,000.
Councillor Fenlon.
The boat launch at Boat Bay in Hudson, is there a design on that one, what you're going to do with it? Because with the low water this year here, when the boats are putting their boats on their trailers and stuff like that, there's a lot of prop wash off of the edge of the ramp itself, and there's a deep hole there, and with the low water they got to go further and further out so they can get their boats off, eh? And that has to be looked at hopefully this year.
Okay. Councillor Cassidy.
So you said 60,000 is to cover all 9 launches, or they're prioritized launches? What are the priorities?
We discussed 5 Mile, West Point Cove, Hudson Boat Bay, and Deception.
Wasn't 5 Mile just done not long ago? I think that's one of our nicest launches.
Yep, they had some gravel put down at the boat launch, and they did a few more. But out of the 4, the 5 Mile is... it's something that we have to take a look at in the spring to see which ones we need to allocate.
Councillor Bath, Councillor.
Boat launches is something that I've been thinking about a little bit lately, is that 9 boat launches is a lot of boat launches. And we need to really take a look at our inventory of them and decide which ones really apply to the municipality. Certainly in Hudson, there's boat base certainly does, certainly 5 Mile does. Section, I'm thinking, I don't think so. But, it should be, yes, we do. And we probably something we should be looking at. I know there was an agreement with M&R 2 years ago that we had to take them all, but I think that's maybe open for discussion, or we need to make it open for discussion. Some of those boat launches are, there's the one on Sturgeon River, for example, that like we've got boat launches 2 or 3, 4, and 5 miles apart. We just don't need that many. So I think it's something that we should, before we go and commit to spending a lot of money, certainly some of them do need repairing, but before we spend a lot of money, we need to do an inventory and a study of which ones are actually the ones we want to keep, and some of them I believe we should just not be using anymore.
Councillor Timpson.
Yes, just can you clarify again, please, Janet? So you're asking for 60,000 to repair the boat launches, but we get about 40,800 income. So are you saying that it's $100,000 to look after the boat launches, or does the 40,000? Would it be?
Mayor Lawrence, currently the boat launches run in a deficit. They're not paying for themselves. In the budget for 2018, for example, or 19, I'll use. I don't know if that's the right one. In 18 was 41,000, and the expenditures were 44,000, and that wasn't with doing any really repairs to the boat launches. So we're not really maintaining them up to standards to what is needed. So they've been depleting quite quickly. So this year in our budget, what we did in our operating budget is we did put a $10,000 reserve in there for reserve funds to transfer to reserve funds for boat launches. And I guess it is something that council will have to make a determination on what they want to do with those boat launches. But I think the agreement, whichever was made up, has to be looked at first to see what we can legally do with those boat launches, since the council signed an agreement with the M&R to take them over. I don't know what the legalities of all that agreement is. I don't know if you've seen the agreement, Jen? No.
Councillor Lego.
May I ask just for clarification? Yeah. So the 60,000 is to fix them, fix the docks, make them nice, and all that stuff. Yeah.
60,000 is to start to maintain and fix them up so that they are more safer, and not so many safety issues with them.
And the 40,000.
That's just
here.
revenue
That's
that goes against the operating of the boat launches.
that's
like
the people you pay to
maintenance.
go and police them and all that. Okay. All right.
Cassidy.
I think we need to reevaluate this entire program when you have 34,000 of the 40,000 collected going to wages and benefits, and we're not even selling. We do sell the passes, but local businesses, local tourist operators also sell the passes. So we're not the only distributor for them. I think we need to reevaluate this whole program to try and cut down on the staff time that goes into this. And that will open up more of the 40,000 to go back into the boat launches instead of it coming into a tax levy.
Councillor Lego.
I know that 8 years ago, that money was borrowed to fix up Mile 5 and Deception. Are we still carrying that debt? I believe it was over $50,000 was borrowed at the time.
That debt that was carried for those boat launches was sitting on the reserves. They borrowed it against the reserves, but they weren't replenishing it. So it was just sitting there, and they weren't paying it back, so it wasn't doing anything. So when the maintenance and the day-to-day maintenance of the expenditures to the boat launches against the revenues have always been less, there's nothing left to carry forward onto the reserve funds where they had taken it from. So that was running a deficit in our reserve funds.
Councillor Fanlon.
We have a comment from the previous manager that there was going to be a rework of the pricing system coming forward again for this year?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, currently we are looking at all the fee schedules for everything, and we're going to be bringing forward in 2019 a new fee schedule bylaw, and we're going to incorporate all the fees for all the municipality, different departments, and have council review it to see if there's a way that we can change the fee structures. It's a long process that we've started it, and it's going to take a while to do to see how we're going to move forward with it and what other municipalities are doing along the area also. Because boat launches, there are lots, there's a lot of expenditures towards them, and there's a lot of usage towards them. Are we charging the correct usage? We have to really have a good look at it.
Further questions on this slide, Council? Thank you.
Next, if I can get Vicky to come up for economic development, and we've touched base on this capital item. So this is the Innovation Station Knowledge Hub.
So this is a partnership that has been created with our partnership with Finland and another country out of Tel Aviv, Israel. And it started with that, but we have partnership with Toronto, University of Toronto, Lakehead University, University of Guelph, and UBC. And this is really a partner-driven project to establish an innovation station, a sort of a knowledge hub, as we are really a knowledge center, and they want to work on innovative projects and solutions for the North. They're focusing on biomass, water, health and recreation, health and wellness, and so they have. It's also incorporates moving myself, my office, and the business hub that exists there, and that's a partnership with our 4 First Nations signatories to the Friendship Accord, Northwestern Health Unit, First Mining Corporation. And so to move me, the purpose for moving me is that the Sewell Cope First Nation Health Authority, in their current space, have been advised they had to find a new location, as where they were, the company was expanding and needed the space in which they were located. So currently, Bob Nault's office, my office, and the partners of the Business Hub and the Anti-Racism and the Anti-Poverty Program are located on the main floor at the Centennial Building. And the Centennial Building, in the last 5 years, has come to full capacity, and it was pretty much empty in the past. So Sewell Cope First Nation Health Authority taking that first level is going to generate way more revenue than we are currently collecting. So I require $30,000 to put walls up in the empty space across the street at the train station. And then the $150,000, what's user fees?
That's my understanding was that was the rent that you were going to be receiving for the tenants you were going to have in there.
Okay, they're making that's the funding that they're putting towards the renovations and all the equipment and the requirements for all of the organizations to locate their innovation hub in that location as well. So the cost to the municipality is strictly $30,000, and that's to give me walls and an office and space for a Northwest Health Unit pays rent, and the anti-poverty groups pay a small portion as well. And also HME Consulting is now being located there, and First Mining Corporation.
Councillor Southall.
So, put up walls is actually 180,000 all told?
No, 30,000. I already ordered them. They're those kind that go up and snap together.
You said the user fees were,
They're investing $150,000 toward the project, so we'll have a grant plus $150,000 from them.
And to do what, Vicky? What is?
The innovation project? They are studying, they're setting up an innovation station, the partners, to study and put forward the project. So the biomass project will be running through there. The studying of the health and wellness with the NHL organizations and Fit for Life. There's a whole group of them that have presented a project to us. So other than, there's no cost to the municipality other than you're building me an office, because there's no place for me to go with our partners, Business Hub.
Councillor Timpson and then Councillor Cassidy.
So the Innovation Hub would be in the train station?
Yep, on the main floor.
On the main floor. And where would you be?
Yeah, there's offices going along the one wall, and the other part is going to be like a think tank.
It's all going to be
Yep.
the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Cassidy.
That was my question.
They'll be, if this moves forward, the project budget moves forward, funding has already been submitted for the project. If it moves forward, we'll bring forward the whole plan, and the partners will come as well. But this is how economic development works, right? It's enticing organizations to locate into the community, to build and invest in the area, and this is one of the projects.
Councillor Southall and then Councillor Timpson.
can we take the first portion of the increased rent from the main floor of the Centennial Center and use it to offset the costs of renovation?
Absolutely. We could take it out of the levy, and whatever they're paying us can pay down that debt. It would be a debt then, eh, Christy?
We'd have to, right now, we have it in here as a capital, so we would have to put it more into our operating budget, where we would have our revenue come in and the expenditure come out.
Which could
Councillor-
make sense to me.
Councillor Timpson. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't quite understand exactly the concept. $428,000 is being applied for from where, and what actually is this $500,000, $600,000? What's going to be done with the $600,000, and where is the 428 coming from?
Ednor and OHFC.
Okay,
The 150,000 is coming from the partners who
Mhm.
are working together.
Yeah. And okay, what is this 600,000 going to pay for?
It's paying for all the furniture, the equipment, and all the other materials that they require for the project. There will be a project manager hired out of that budget, and administration as well. They'll be creating jobs. It's not our response, like, this isn't going to be an operation of the municipality. We're just setting up the space with them. Well, we're not spending any money on this project, other than the $30,000, which is to give us walls. And Jody and I ran the numbers to build walls in that area, and to run the electrical the old-fashioned way would have cost way more. So we went and we had it designed through Wilson's.
Councillor Cassidy, and then Councillor Timpson.
This seems like there's a lot of moving pieces or pieces to this budget line, and I'm sure it ties back into the stuff at the library. Could we potentially just get a report or some kind of a summary of what this is? Because it sounds like there's a bit of confusion with some of the councillors. Can we highlight that and then bring that forward to us before the next budget meeting?
Sorry, I can't. I'm going to wait until such time as they know that they're going through to their phase 2 application, that it's been accepted, the project, and then I can speak on behalf of the partners. They don't locate here right now. Their idea is to bring universities in their 4th year undergraduates to operate that facility. So this is a really not a good example because it really should be saying, I need an office space, I need 30,000. I would never have brought that in, probably. I would have left that, like you're saying. It's a project that's being it's not come to fruition yet. I need $30,000 though to have an office space.
So after, through you, Mayor Lawrence, after speaking to you, Vicki, then what we can do is we can take this item right out of off of the capital item, and what we'll do is we'll put it over to Jody we'll do something with renovations for an office space for the 30,000.
And then as the innovation hub moves, we'll get clarity in a report to council sometime in the next couple of months. Yeah.
How it works is when I'm working with partners to bring them into the community and land here, we make application for funding, and we go through a phase 1 process. We don't come to council until phase 2, because the reason for that is if we don't go past if they deny you in phase 1, there is no project.
I think that's good, and I think the lack of clarity is because of that, and it's really not a budget item at this point. So,
yeah.
So that's. I think we can move on to corporate services.
So Brian will be speaking in regards to corporate services. He's sitting over there. So that item is for website development.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I was, as you know, communications and so on is the responsibility of the Corporate Services Department, and I was asked to bring forward a project that would look at either revamping and updating or completely redesigning the website. The RFP is in process. We don't have numbers yet. This number is here as a placeholder. It's based on costs that we incurred in 2012, the last time we completely revamped the website, plus looking at additional features that have been discussed recently with other departments, including the ability to pay certain things online, the ability to get certain, permits and so on online. So this is certainly the very, very high end of what this project may cost. Unless there are questions.
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I guess I'd say, what's wrong with the current one?
It doesn't do everything that people are asking that it do. And despite all our efforts to make the website accessible and make information user-defined, we continue to receive complaints about accessibility and trying to find information and so on and so forth. I think part of that is the reality that we do a lot of things and provide a lot of services, and there's no way you can put all of that on one page. There are other options to websites. There are community portals instead of websites, like Kenora has done in the past. And certainly the additional features, which we tried to integrate 6 years ago, but there wasn't an appetite for it at that time. We're hearing from the public that they want to be able to do things like get permits online and pay taxes online and all this type of stuff, which in order to facilitate that, it needs to be integrated with the other departments that provide those services, as well as the finance department, and so on.
Questions, council? Councillor Cassidy?
Is there any benefit to potentially doing just a Survey Monkey or something like that to the town for people that use the site that we can get some input from the users for what they want to see? Like, I'm sure you receive some one-off complaints, and those are probably from the people that are most frustrated with it. But to maybe just have a bit of background and maybe some direction for it too before we kind of look at going to this.
In 2012, when we redid the website, the first phase of that process was community engagement. Before we went forward to look at redesigning it, we went out to the community and asked them what their needs were, what they wanted, how they wanted the website to be designed. I guess that's changed in the last several years.
Councillor Timpson?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I remember very well when we got that in 2012, and it was $50,000. And I've never really enjoyed being on that website. It's been really difficult at times to find things. I guess if we're thinking of another website, I think we better be pretty careful in how we manage this and who does it, because I really felt that the one before that was much better than the one that we got 6 years ago. So,
through you, Mayor Lawrence, I appreciate your opinion, Councillor Timpson, and it is shared by some people. The website before 2012, we couldn't keep any longer because it was no longer compliant with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. We had to replace it in 2012. The cost was closer to $65,000, just to clarify. And additionally, whether we update the website in 2019 or in 2020, we may not need to do a complete overhaul, but there are additional things that will need to be done in the next 2 years because the accessibility requirements are changing again, and our website will not be compliant by 2021 if we don't do anything.
Further questions, council? Councillor Stimpson?
No question. Maybe this is something that we could put money aside in a reserve fund over the course of the next 3 years, and then do it. And then we'll really be up to date instead of doing it now and be out of date in 2 years. Yep.
Any further comments, council? Okay. Thank you. So, Treasurer, that brings us to the end of capital.
So now I'm going to give you the summary of the capital, what we've seen. So our capital funding summary with grants and subsidies, and this is coming from, if we do all projects that we're not listing, the figures might be off a little bit because I had the last minute, had to change a few of them. So from grants and subsidies, $3,574,885. From the federal gas tax, $562,218. Our reserves and reserve funds would be pulling $954,899. Long-term debt, $5,427,870. User fees, which is the AIF, which is the airport, $374,445, and a tax levy impact of $437,600. Just to note on this that if we were to do all these projects and take up this long-term debt, it wouldn't be debt for this year, but we're going to be hit with it in probably 2020. So our debt seems to run a year after the projects are completed. So these are our debentures. So right in 2019, with what debt we're going to be taking on in 2019 from 2018 projects, our user fees are, they're the light green there. So in 2019, they're at 32.9%. Also in 2019, our taxation is at 39.4%. And our AIF, which is their airport, is 27.7%. In 2020, if we were to do those projects, I'm projecting that we would be, our user fees at 31%, this would be for debt payments, and the taxation would be at 44%. And then the be at 26%. In 2021, we're kind of projecting with just what we have, the user fees would be about 25%. The payment of debt, taxation would be at 53%, payment of debt, and the AIF at 21%. So we have to think long and hard on what we're going to be taking out in debt in the future, where we want to move forward with this. When do we want to start putting money away for things? Right now, our municipal debt limit for 2018, and this is based on the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, our repayment limit is $5,560,045. Currently, our yearly payments are $1,184,512. That's 2018, what our payments are. In our reserves and reserve funds, at the beginning of 2019, we're projecting with what we pull out for our projects in 2018, we're going to have reserves of $8,152,019, reserve funds of $3,157,610. In the 2019 budget, right now, we're going to be projecting that we'll be transferring to reserves, and this is already in the budget. From user fees, $761,891, which is basically would be probably more just the utilities, and from taxation, $583,249, and that's from different departments transferring from taxation that's in their capital, in their operating budgets. What we've been trying to do is we have the fleets now, so as people are purchasing, our departments are purchasing vehicles and that, we're taking out a loan on that vehicle. They're also paying into a reserve fund for that fleet so that when that vehicle becomes obsolete, they'll have the money sitting there for that vehicle. We're trying to be proactive. Every year, the roads department puts away money. Not every department is able to do it. We're trying to add every year to some. I was speaking with facilities with Jody tonight regarding facilities, because that's one that's lacking, that we are replenishing the reserves for that, the reserve funds, that we may have to look at start putting money away for the reserve funds. It would be nice if we could have every year a levy just for reserve funds, but that's something that council's going to have to be making a determination if they want to start doing a yearly levy just to put away for reserve funds for future. Right now, we have a 2017 outstanding project. The balance of that project that's sitting right now is $203,000. That project is the cafetorium. It was $240,000. We had went for funding through NOHFC. We were denied the funding. So the last status on that was that we were going to be raising funding for this. Council had determined we would try to raise funds for this. To date, for 2018, we received $37,000 in donations. So that leaves us a balance of $203,000 outstanding on that project right now. It's just sitting in our books. It's not, every year we just kind of, as we get money, we're putting it down. So council's going to make a determination. They want to leave that just sit and we just keep trying to get money for donations for that, or should we try to borrow money to pay that off, or pull something from our infrastructure reserves? We off that, so our bank is holding that right now. Right now, our operating budget deficit, which was what I had showed you earlier, is at $190,513. That would equate to approximately a 1.7% tax increase just to leave our operating budget as it is. Our capital budget deficit right now, if we were to do all these projects, is through taxation $437,600. It may be a little bit more, a little bit less. I apologize for the errors in that spreadsheet if there are any more. So that would equate to a 3.98% tax increase if we were to do all of the capital that were in there in the queue right now that we presented to you tonight. So having said this, now I guess, as you, Mayor Lawrence, as the treasurer and as the manager sitting here, we're trying to look for direction as to where council would like us to move forward on this, and I'm not sure if you want to.
Yeah, so I think the process is that, I'll go to the public in just a minute, but we have, can you put the slide back up with the dates, the meeting, the meeting dates? Yeah, one of the first slides. Tonight is our first glimpse at the budget, and we can all take it back and look at it, and I think staff has received some sort of input that maybe some more detail is required. We'll listen to the public as well. And then, as you see, on January the 9th is an open house public input and requests meeting. So that meeting is really, this budget may have been tweaked a little bit, but it essentially will come back the same, because you're not, I don't think you're going to get, sure.
When we do the open house public input meeting, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing more on our infrastructure, on the state of our infrastructure, where we would like to try to move forward on our infrastructure. There's a big push right now for infrastructure that we have a bunch of mandates that we have to meet. So through our asset management plan and assets. So that's what we're going to focus on, bringing all of our infrastructure and what state most of our infrastructure is.
Okay. I think it's going to be at the January 30th council meeting where there'll be a more fulsome debate at the council table, and real directions start to be given. I think there's and if anybody has any council or public has any questions in the interim, I spoke to the CAO and sorry, treasurer. She suggested that questions be directed through you, treasurer@sulacao.ca, and try to make your questions, compile your questions, and make them concise and whatever. But I think right now I'm going to go to the public and invite the public to ask questions of through me to the treasurer. So maybe, I wonder if I can move, can I move that mic over there?
Have it.
And as usual, if you have a question, please raise your hand, stand and state your name and state your question. So, to the public, yep.
Hey, Alan Brailsford. The summary you just gave, you said something about a 1-point-something% for the operating and 3.98 for the capital. How's the impact fit into that? Because the assessments are going up over 3%. And so will that offset some of this increase?
The impact, are you talking about the assessment increase?
Yeah,
So that is, I had showed a slide earlier where it showed what we were actually getting for an increase in taxation based on our 2018 assessment, our 2018 tax rate. It's approximately 390,000, I believe it was. And this is over and above. That 390,000 was absorbed in this operating budget.
Okay, so this would be over
That's correct.
almost 5% then on the tax rate. That would increase the tax rate by 5%?
Approximately, yeah.
If you,
Not the tax, well, it depends, it comes and goes, it depends on what property value. So what it is from 2018 to the 2019 taxes, we were getting $390,423. That's just in the taxation, which equates to a 3.7% increase. That is absorbed in the operating budget that I presented, and the 1.7%
Other members of the public?
Judy Henriksen. I've got a question pretty much the same. The operating budget, 1.7%. The capital budget, if it all goes through, 3.98%. Okay, so that's an increase. There's still impact. So if my property goes up, is assessed $30,000 or $40,000 more, the town gets another, let's say it's 4% from last year, I'm just taking a number. That's another 4% that's added on to these two, correct?
Stop you for a second. No, that's not correct. So right now, for the taxation budget for 2019, what we're going to be getting, that $390,000 extra revenue, is already with your assessments for 2019. We already received your tax roll. It's a 4-year phase-in. So unless you happen to do something extraordinary or build a garage or something, we won't be getting any more revenue through taxation other than that extra $390,000. I allowed $130,000 for supplementary billings as revenue. That's if there are new bills. That's what that would absorb. And I based it on the last 4 or 5 years, I think it was, and then I divided it out to see what we get on the average. In 2018, in supplementaries, we got $127,000 in revenue.
Okay, so let's talk apples with apples. I'm talking percentages, not dollars. And I'm talking 3.98% plus 1.7%. Now, is impact's percentage included in those two percentages?
Yes.
Okay, that was my answer.
So the 3.7% is the impact percentage.
3.98.
3.7%. Or you may have a different.
1.7 is operating. If you put that back,
So 3.98 is the capital.
is the capital, right?
What I'm saying is, for taxation from 2018 to 2019, the increase through assessments and everything is 3.7%.
Okay. Now, I do have one other comment. I'm hoping before the next meeting, like a couple of these things are pretty vague. This Eco Village and the other, just a second, I need my glasses. I'm sorry. The Eco Village and the infrastructure expansion, Boreal Trails, that is a lot of money. And it's pretty vague, and to me it didn't sound like too many councillors here knew exactly what's going on. The description or explanation was pretty poor. I have no idea, so I'm going to go dig deep and find out more about it. So before the next meeting, I'm hoping the council gets together. I don't know what the process is, but you guys do some real digging and checking into these capital expenses before we start quoting 3.98% and 1.7. I just feel that's fair, so I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
If I can make comment towards that, these capital projects and even major capital projects, there'll be a bigger presentations in the infrastructure levy when we do it on January the 9th at the open house. There'll be more explanations and everything in regards to the project.
Okay, after Judy talked with you, I'm still confused then. So we're looking at 1.7 plus, let's say 4, so we're looking at 5.7. Is that a tax rate increase? Or do you subtract the 3.7 you're getting from impact?
Right now in our operating budget, we're short $190,000. That's 1.7%. That would equate to, we would have to take a 1.7% on your taxes to get us to that $190,000.
So that means a tax rate increase of 1.7 to account for that?
Yeah.
From last year? So the tax rate's going to go up 1.7 from last year?
Not necessary, depends on what council determines. I'm
Okay.
not saying this.
Well, let's say the budget was passed tonight. Let's assume this was final. If these numbers,
If the budget was passed tonight, it'd be 1.7 plus 3.98
3.98, so,
you add those two numbers, if they pass everything the way it is that I just presented right now, that's what your taxes would go up, that percent.
The taxes or the tax rate? Like, there's two parts.
Not necessarily the tax rate, because we have to do the ratios, because it's ratios from one, you're talking ratios.
Okay, what would be,
But for now, what I did is I took, okay, our total revenue for taxation, say is 11 million, okay? You take that, and if I was to multiply it for the money that I need, divided by, take 190,000, divided by the money that, the 11 million, it would give me a percentage. That's how you do it for now until we determine exactly. And then it's split out because it's the ratio to one, for residential.
okay.
If that helps you.
So what's the tax rate increase then, given these numbers?
I don't have exact tax rate, but it's
Approximately.
would be approximately 3, 4, 5 point, whatever. the
Okay.
kid said.
Okay, I got my answer then, thanks.
Tax
Levy increase.
Yeah, tax
We're
levy.
just talking tax rates.
Yeah, we're talking tax levy, not tax rate.
Further questions from the public?
Hi, it's Debbie Baker. I just wanted to clarify with the long-term debt. So with what's being presented tonight, if that were to be passed, we'd be adding 5.4 million to the long-term debt that's currently at, I believe, around 18 million? Is that correct? So we would then be having a long-term debt of 23 million. And how would that affect, I guess, the payment over time, as in, how do I put it? How are we expecting to pay that off, or is there ever an intention to bring it down to zero or closer to zero, or are we just kind of at a point? Because I believe what the interest rate now is at $500,000 for the long-term debt, roughly yearly, and that will be going up as the interest rates go up. That's yearly what we pay, or roughly like close to $500,000 in interest. We'd be adding another 5 million, bringing it to 23 million, with interest rates also going up.
Everything wants to go through. We're not saying everything is going through.
No, I know this is always the first time ideal situation, and then we need to hash things out. So I just wanted to be clear on that point.
There's also some debt that will be paying off too as we go along, as some is paid off. And also, as you talk about debt and that, I think the way that it, and the CAO can probably help me out on this too, is the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the way they're looking at it now with debt, is they're thinking, wherever I think our debt ratio, where we could be at, I think they want us to continue with that to be able to be sustainable. In order to be sustainable, as your debt is paid off, continue paying that debt, and you put it away for a reserve fund. And I think that's how they're flowing it, so I'm thinking they're trying to push that more.
Which makes sense, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and
That's
we are
good
trying to
budgeting.
get there as a municipality, and as managers, we're all trying to figure out ways that we can get money put away, plus try to maintain 80-year-old infrastructure. So it's quite challenging, and we're trying to do everything that we can without, I don't like paying taxes either. I know nobody does, so.
The only other comment that I have has to do with the Mill Road, just because I get to drive that 4 days a week, and it's interesting. My one comment with it is you may, and you may have been doing it, and I'm just not aware of it, is discussing with Lac Seul how you want to do things. One of the things that I noticed driving it practically daily is you actually do have people, especially in the summer, I'm passing at least one person every single day. So there are people walking that section fairly regularly, usually with dogs, and also walking out of Hudson towards Sioux Lookout, that stretch. There's a person, like, I just haven't stopped and asked her name yet, that I can guarantee I'm going to see. And the way the edging is, like you were talking about sidewalking and that, I have a suspicion that Hudsonites wouldn't really care for sidewalks on that stretch. And the fact that the way it is level, if you started putting distinct ditching, you could actually make it less safe, which has been my personal opinion about Drayton when it got fixed, is it's a way more dangerous now for pedestrians than when I remembered it before it was paved. So just those types of considerations when you go ahead and do it. And Lac Seul has its way of thinking, which can be different from ours. So we might go ahead with something and think, oh, hey, yeah, no, this is no problem. And it might actually be a big problem on the other side. And to be honest, they're using that road more than we are because they have a lot of people coming and going for work, more so than people from Sioux Lookout going out to Lac Seul. So that's just another suggestion. Okay.
Any other comments from the public? Questions? Thank you. So I'll go back to the treasurer. Do you, anything you wanted to say? You're good. So council table before we wrap up.
Yeah, well, we received the operating budget yesterday. I spent a good part of yesterday and today going through it, and we spent all of about 5 minutes on it and 2.5 hours on capital. I have noticed that there are a number of departments that have some significant increases, which I think council should know why. Corporate is up 21%, economic development 38%, planning 34%, treasury 15%, garbage collection 60%, recycling 25%. I really do believe we need to know what is going on with those particular departments, why there are these increases.
So I'm just not sure whether we want to carry on with that tonight or make those like questions, because we're not really, we're getting back together again several times on this budget. It doesn't all have to be tonight, and everybody can have a chance to fully review it and come up with questions like you have and get them to the treasurer. That's what I'm suggesting, is that we give the budget's not moving anywhere other than, I shouldn't say that, we've got it started. It would come back at the next meeting after public input on January the 30th, and questions will have gone to staff, and those staff can answer the questions that night, and we can ask more and keep moving forward.
I think it's the disproportionate amount of time spent on capital and virtually nothing on operations tonight. And
I don't know. We went through the presentation.
I had a lot of questions about the operations, and that seems to be the way it is every year. And I can't support a budget if I don't have my questions answered.
You're not being asked to support it tonight, and you're being invited to ask questions.
Exactly, yes. But it just seems to be every year, it seems to be, there's no attention paid to the operating budget by council, very little.
Any other comments, council? Councillor Cassidy.
How many new positions are being created under the operating budget?
Sorry.
There's approximately 6 positions. There is a couple of positions that were partly in the budget in 2018, but are fully in the budget in 2019. There was one position that was determined that was not going to be necessary anymore, so it was not put in 2018, but it is now being determined that it's needed, so it is coming back in 2019. And then there are, I would say there would probably be about 3 new positions.
Councillor Legal.
I calculated the 2018, 2019, the 2019 projected wages and benefits, and they're going up by $500,000. Okay, I was just going by the projected and the 2018 numbers that were in the operating budget book.
The total is $357,000 for wages from 2018 actuals to 2019 budget. And there's 6 positions altogether that weren't completely budgeted for in 2018.
Sorry.
Councillor Legal.
Not all completely brand new positions.
Did, Is the airport not included in that? Okay. Okay, that's why I have a different number than
The
you.
airport is separate. The airport actually runs a separate, separate books also. They are, yeah, so that's why they're not included. We don't include any user pay, so utilities isn't included in there also.
Councillor Cassidy.
For the January 9th open house, can we have a definition list for the public to see with regards to what constitutes contracted service, equipment costs, a breakdown of what would be embedded in those for the public to help understand the budget? No, those under expenditures, those all the line items, if that line item shows up in the budget, I think we should have a definition for it of what it can entail and where it's gonna go. Thank you.
Councillor Timpson.
I think it'd be very useful to have a similar presentation from each department on operations as we had on capital, so these increases can be justified. Because to me, just reading it in here, you don't really know what they're going to be doing differently, and why up to almost 40% increase in one department, and we need to know why. Not saying we're not going to go with it, but we need to know why. We need to know where the money is going, and why.
So can we do that kind of review at the January 30th council meeting?
At the January 30th?
Yeah, I think that.
January 9th.
I was thinking the January, receive you'd have more questions and comments and public input. Do it I'm thinking about time for you to do this too.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, if we were going to do it, I would suggest we do it at the January 9th open house, and then all the public would be there to hear.
I was just considering the Christmas break. You have time to do this, and
It's just the managers that have to ask the questions.
that's who's looking at me. Sorry, did you, Ms. Henderson? Thank you. No, if you can do it for January 9th, that's perfect, yeah.
So if we're not changing anything, all the managers, everybody has the budget now, and we've already gone through detail in the capital, so if, I don't know how detailed you want them to go. Do you want me to divide it out instead of dividing it out by government protection, transportation, environmental health, actually divide it out by department?
If you can do that, that's.
Right now, it's divided out by the FIR for what we have to report, so that's how our system.
Yeah, bring it back from the provincial system to our sort of what we understand as much as you can. I think that would sure help. Yeah. Yep. That would help everybody, I think.
Basically line by line.
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, you have to have both because for the.
Line by line, if you do that, that's all.
But the year-to-year comparison is on the FIR type, the way you have the standard presentation. But some of the detail you might help by department. Go ahead, CIO, sir.
Lawrence, for instance, I'll just take an example. You have transportation, you have the airport, and public works. Those are two major big budgets that would be together. And then for, you take government, you've got CAO, HR, train station, OMPS, so that's a couple departments together. Like they're grouped together, they're not individual groupings.
CAO, did you have a?
Just as a suggestion, maybe each department head could just outline the difference between the actuals for 2018 or their budget from 2018 to 2019, and generally give a synopsis of what the differences are and why they're there, like if there's increases.
That sounds good, yeah. I'm seeing consensus at the council table. Public Works?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, but tonight the public, there's variances of different degrees. It would be a threshold established as to when you would like an explanation, percentage-wise or something like that, so we're not looking at insignificant.
I'll leave the CIO to work with you on that. It's a good point, yeah, absolutely. Councillor Cassidy?
Just one further remark through you, CAO, I guess. Would there be the potential to maybe set out a day where council can go meet with certain departments head and kind of like some of the projects you guys outlined in the capital, I'd like to see it. And instead of maybe one-off councillors coming to you guys and eats up more of your time, maybe we could just set up one day where we could go like, Jody, you got a lot of stuff with facilities. It'd be nice if, you know, whoever wanted to come, 2 or 3 of us could go and you could just show us the stuff you're talking about, what you're talking about doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Mayor Lawrence, are you talking about a sit-down or actual physical location?
Site visits, yes.
We can arrange that, most definitely.
Okay.
Are you not getting, be careful how many go? Is that not a meeting?
We'll let the CAO and clerk handle that, yeah.
3 at a time.
Councillor Timpson.
But wouldn't it make more sense to have that particular exercise on the 30th, so it's a duly constituted meeting, and we can comment and discuss the same way we have tonight. We discuss as a group, because I think that would be my preference.
I think we're going to have the meeting on this. This is sort of a pre-meeting site visits if you're interested in going to one or 2 particular facilities. So I think that and then on the 30th we have the meeting.
It's just that I've always believed that all councillors should have the same information. If one councillor has a question, it's valuable if all the others know about the question and get the answer. The same with the question that I posed this afternoon about the FIR. I copied everybody, but then you're always in danger of being accused of having a council meeting by email when you're just asking, you know. So I just think it would be easier if we had a meeting in which we went through each department. Whatever.
CAO.
Visits to actually see where the work is going to be done and get an explanation of the projects. And I believe that's what Councilor
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
capital
oh,
stuff.
okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking of more meeting with each individual manager and finding out about the discrepancy, or the increases and so on. Sorry.
So do you feel you have enough direction? Council, any further direction to staff, and we're ready to move, just keep the process moving forward? Okay, I'm seeing that as a consensus. We'll move forward. Thank you very much to management for coming out. I know you've been working hard on the budget, and we have a ways to go, but great work so far, and thank you for your time tonight. Thank you to the public for coming out. And I'll ask for a confirmatory bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting, special meeting of council, December 13th, bylaw number 90-18. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Fenlon, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Councillor Southall, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Rush over to the huddle. Look at that. Sorry?
That's funny. That's funny.
The seating arrangement isn't all that good.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
I consider me a control freak, but I appreciate
Ben,
it.
I think that there's an opportunity to do some tweaking and some maybe minor revisions. I don't think we need to overhaul it right now.